The Coconut Wireless is back. The Ray Gibson Show. Any speaker, anytime. On demand at thepoint.gu.
And on Facebook Live. We're doing it on Facebook. You know why? Because it's free. That's why. And one of a couple of things that I want your attention on Facebook Live today. Later on, and you should have done it already, but if you are not already following and liking and friending Guam Regional Medical City, I want you to do all of those things today. It's not like you're going to get a prize or something, and it's not like Camille's going to win the beauty pageant if you do. Because that's the other thing that's going on. We're team, I'm sorry. Yeah, is it Team Camille? I think so. Anyway, so go to Guam Regional Medical City on Facebook, like them, follow them, and then later on you'll get a note that says that that they are online with a live Facebook live feed of their forum of the gubernatorial candidates here today. So that's going to be taking place between 3 and 5. A lot of questions, naturally talking about health care in general, health with Guam Regional Medical City in particular, systems of care, and that kind of thing. I'm delighted now because we got this portion of the program. You have medical friends and healthy friends with GRMC, and what we're looking for is opportunities to talk to some of the great specialists that they have at GRMC. It's not just, it's not a hospital. You go to a hospital when you've got an emergency or something like that, but maybe you've got problems with your feet, and they got a good foot guy, and maybe you've got problems with your heart, and they've got a guy that will go in and figure out how to clean that out and stick stents in it, and they've got equipment in there that you can launch satellites with at Guam Regional Medical City. And I'm delighted because the folks that I get to interview this morning, and there's 3 of them on this team, they're neuro guys. Is that fair? Is that fair enough? So let me go down the line. I think we got all the microphones that are hot in the studio that need to be hot, and we'll begin to introduce them. I have Dr. Kwasi Nyame, who is a neurosurgeon.
Good morning.
Good morning. And the most dapper-dressed guy here in the studio. He's also joined by Dr. Scott Shay, and I had the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Shay a couple of years ago at a previous location, and I recalled that we had a great time in that conversation.
That we did.
And I'm glad that you're back here. And Dr. Justin Hale, who is a neurologist and sleep specialist, is with me in the studio as well. Good to have you here.
Good morning, Ray.
I'm going to start with you because we're morning guys here at the radio station, and our sleep is necessarily disrupted because we've got to wake up. He wakes up about 3. I'm up off the couch at about 4 o'clock in the morning, and that begins my process, and I take a nap. And I've recently begun wearing a watch that keeps track of my time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so here's the question. It breaks it down between awake, light sleep, and deep sleep.
Yeah.
What are the distinctions? I mean, I know what awake means, but tell me about light sleep and deep sleep, and how much should I get?
Well, everybody has their own need for different amounts of sleep. There are associations with increased mortality, even with very low amounts of sleep or very high amounts of sleep. More than 10 hours. If you're sleeping more than 10 hours, it could be an indication of something wrong. Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, last time I talked to anybody about sleeping too long, as it turns out, that was a physical response to depression, which will happen from time to time.
Yeah.
But and I've known people. Charlie's known folks that have serious, I want to say, sleep apnea problems. Yeah. That feels like a word that describes a width of different problems, huh?
Well. Yeah, I mean, sleep apnea is kind of bread and butter for what I see in clinic. It's very common. I kind of have gotten the impression that everybody's got it.
Right. Exactly. What's the matter with you?
Very, it's very similar to, I would say it's as common as diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, all those things. They kind of go together. And certainly associated with obesity, but then sometimes some of my sleep apnea patients are not terribly heavy. So if there's snoring, if people are telling you that you stop breathing or gasping awake, if you're tired in the mornings, waking up with dry mouth in the mornings, headaches in the mornings, if you're sleepy during the day. I have a lot of patients that come to me after they've had an automobile accident because they fall asleep on the wheel.
Check mark. People are listening right now going, wait, that's me. I'm just, all of the things that you said is me.
You should get a sleep study then, and it's easy enough to do. And the treatment is, for some people, can really change their lives. It makes them much happier. Of course, some people, when I say treatment, the majority of the time that's the CPAP machine. a mask that you wear over your nose.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But 50% of people love it, wear it every night. The other 50% of people don't care for it. But
because it's a thing on your face while you're trying to sleep.
But for some people, that's really the thing that helps them. And if for those people who are struggling, for that 50% of people who struggle with the machine, that's why I'm here to kind of help them along.
Can you take pills? Is there a place in the head that you can hit with a hammer that'll help cure it?
Actually, I saw an article recently about a pill that might help some with sleep apnea, but nothing is ready for market.
So I know a guy that can be sitting at his desk and you have a conversation with him. 2 minutes later, he's sitting up snoring.
Yeah, that's sleep apnea, most likely. I mean, there are other things that would cause people to be severely sleepy. You might be just not getting enough hours of sleep.
There's that, right? There's that.
You got to make time for it.
So the response is, okay, I caught you sleeping on the job again. You need to drink some coffee. Is coffee a good response for a sleep apnea case? Does it help? Does it hinder?
Well, your body just adapts to that very quickly, so your body gets used to it to where the coffee isn't really helping anymore. So,
I see.
So you got to treat the underlying problem. You got to treat the breathing at night.
No, appreciate that. And if you got questions on that nature or something you wanted to opine about, 888-8255 or on the Facebook Live. Narcoleptic is the word that Albert Eliasson is using. And is that the correct definition there?
Well, narcolepsy is pretty rare. I mean, I have several narcoleptic patients, but it's pretty rare. That's a different thing. Those people also.
What's that symptom? What does that entail?
Yeah, narcolepsy is interesting. It's a loss of certain group of neurons in the center of your brain, and it usually comes on in adolescence, in fact, or in children, and they have horrible sleep at night. They're kind of waking up a lot, having lots of dreams. So that there's a problem with they're regulating their dream sleep, their REM sleep. So they'll have REM intrusion into daytime. So they'll start kind of suddenly having kind of hallucinations around them, basically dreams. They're dreaming almost while awake.
This is fascinating.
They'll wake up out of dreams, and the dream is still going on. Of course, when you're dreaming, your body is paralyzing you. You're releasing glycine into your spinal cord to paralyze you. Otherwise, we would be acting out our dreams every night. So people
in my
wake
case,
up.
that would be dangerous. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, it's amazing function that our body does to paralyze us during the dreams, and so, but these people don't regulate that as well, so they'll wake up paralyzed, and while the dream is going on, and lots of interesting.
Back in the olden days, we blame that on the devil.
Sure.
Well, so and so is possessed. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of myths that come from narcolepsy and sleep paralysis episodes. There's an old Greek myth about the incubus that visits you at night and kind of sits on your chest. And a lot of people experience that during REM sleep or during sleep paralysis episodes. They feel like something is on their chest. Because some of the muscles involved in breathing are also paralyzed, and so you don't get those deep breaths. People feel kind of smothered.
It's a fascinating conversation already. I want to spend a couple of minutes talking about lucid dreaming, but before I do that, I wanted to jump into something. Is there such a thing as sleepwalking? A friend of mine had posted a security picture of her walking around the house in the middle of the night, but she doesn't have any recollection of her walking around the house in the middle of the night. Yes,
sleepwalking definitely exists. And kids do it a lot. I mean, I was asleep over it when I was a kid, and one of my friends got up and started walking around. And what's going on? So sleepwalking happens. Sometimes medications Ambien is a bit famous for that. People can get up and eat and do other things. Sleepwalking
it's a real thing.
And it comes on more with sleep deprivation too. So if you're burning the candle at both ends, you might be more prone to it.
Well, I nap daily, so I generally get to hit the pillow about 10 o'clock at night and get about 6 hours of sleep in the evening before I wake up, and then I go home at noon and take a nap because that's the way I was raised to enjoy doing something like that. I think naps are important.
Siesta culture around the.
Are you lucid? Can you teach yourself to lucid dream?
You can. There's a guy at Stanford who does a lot of lucid dreaming research, and I actually bought the book, but I never did. I never got into it. I was like, I sleep really well. I don't want to like mess up my sleep by doing this lucid dreaming thing. But yeah, people. In fact, some of my narcoleptic patients will lucid dream. Basically, lucid dreaming is the ability to know that you are dreaming. So you're in a dream, but you know that you're dreaming.
Yep.
And then there's another component of sleep control or dream control, where you can actually control. Once you now know that you're in a dream, you can now control what's going to happen in that dream. One of my patients said he could dunk from half court.
Yeah. Well, I attempt to it, and when I do, what normally I'm trying to get to is for Beyonce to whisper in my ear, "Your wife said it's okay." That's what I'm trying to take my lucid dreaming to. And another question, I got two other doctors here, and I'll get around to them in a couple of minutes. How about acute insomnia, going in the opposite direction? People that are falling asleep on the job and the dangers of that kind of thing. What about folks that are in the opposite end and just are unable to sleep at regular times?
Yeah, so insomnia, I mean, there are just a slew of things that could cause insomnia. So, insomnia just means you don't sleep well. So you said acute insomnia. Acute insomnia might be like, acute just means anything that's new. So if you just suddenly develop insomnia now, that would be what it would.
No, I think they're using acute in terms of the severity of it. I just can't go to sleep until until after midnight, and you sleep real light. Wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, can't go back to bed. That kind of thing.
Well, I would just say, going back to the sleep apnea. Sleep apnea can also, not only does it cause daytime sleepiness, but it actually does fragment your sleep. It wakes you up a lot. And then sometimes you have difficulty falling back asleep. A lot of my sleep apnea patients wake up to pee a lot. The mechanism that your brain uses to shut off the faucet basically is not
working. So you
going
get up
to
and
sleep
yourself.
So sleep. I would always look for sleep apnea, but also circadian disruption. So our body is all, our brain is on a clock.
My mother suffered from fibromyalgia, and that was one of the first things that when we talked to doctors about how we're going to deal with it, that was one of the things that they talked about, is you've got to get her back on that circadian rhythm. She's got to sleep at night instead of prowling the internet and doing her crafts and hobbies in the middle of the night.
It's difficult for everybody because we live in a 24-hour world now. It used to be when the sun goes down, there's nothing to do except
sleep. Make love and eat and sleep.
Maybe poke the campfire or something. But now it's we have access to what's going on in France or whatever, and at 1 in the morning, and so.
Do you take your cell phone into the bedroom with you?
I don't. There's no electronic media in our bedroom.
Yeah,
or the kids.
Because of that reason. It's for sleeping.
Yeah.
We're going to sleep here in this place. No television, no iPads, none of that stuff, because that's what goes on in there.
Yeah, it's dark. So in our room.
People will ask, why do you have the shutters on the windows? Number one, because it keeps the air conditioning down, and number two, it keeps everything dark.
Very effective. Yes.
Yes. Get yourselves to sleep. Yeah. Fascinating conversation. That's Justin Hale, neurologist and sleep specialist over at GRMC. And looking at the time now, 9:21 in the morning. I'm going to move over in another direction here and speak to a Neurointerventional Radiologist, Dr. Scott Shay. And radiologist, I'm assuming that there is some investigation of my internal parts using some GWiz technology.
Correct.
Correct. Tell me all about it. Close on the microphone there.
Yeah. So my field basically deals with fluoroscopy. So I use X-rays to visualize blood vessels supplying the brain, spinal cord.
And let's talk about that first. I didn't get into the conversation with Dr. Hale on this, but I will with you. When I think of when I see a phrase, a title like neurosurgeon, neurointerventionalist, neurologist, I'm thinking about the confines of my skull. But you guys are occupy a little bit more of the human body than just the innards of the skull, right?
Correct. So the central nervous system includes the spinal cord. So the spine is also kind of a territory that we focus on. But the majority of my work, unlike my colleague to my right, the neurosurgeon, is the brain.
Okay.
When I say the brain, it's the blood vessels supplying the brain, as well as to include the neck arteries, neck vessels.
And you get two of those, right? One over here, one over here?
Correct.
Where did I hear? Somebody told me about a procedure that they were working on with cancer patients, in particular pancreatic cancer, where they would take part of the neck vein and take that out and then replace something that might be tangled up with the pancreatic cancer in the other parts of the body. Are you familiar with the procedure?
No, I'm not.
No. Would you recommend something like that? I mean, they give you two, so I figure one's a spare, right?
Yeah, I would get a second opinion on that. Definitely.
Well, let me get a first opinion, and I don't know how many other folks this might affect, so I'm going to assume that as a neurointerventional radiologist, you might be able to tell me where the problem starts. But I have a thing with my left arm, and it began about a month and a half, 2 months ago, to tingle. Right down to the fingertips. And it feels like there's something in my armpit, and it goes, like I said, a little bit of a tingle all the way down to the innards of my fingertips. And the last time I had somebody from GRMC in here, they said that probably has to do with a pinched nerve.
With fingers?
Primarily the middle finger and a little bit of the ring finger. And I was trying to figure out why, and it feels like there's something in my neck all the time, and so that's why I was trying to get I'm supposed to talk to my regular physician about getting a referral to go and see you guys, but the problem is my regular physician is an OBGYN, and he said he'd have to conduct a full-blown examination, and I didn't think I was quite ready for that, maybe later, Doc. Anyway, so the long story short is I haven't had a chance to come and see you yet. How would you investigate where the problem might be?
Well, to be honest, I would actually refer you to my colleague, the neurosurgeon.
Already?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't.
You're the radiologist guy. Wouldn't you want to squirt me with something and see what lights up?
Well, I think that neuroimaging would be is probably part of your workup, but I would let the neurosurgeon kind of orchestrate that.
Okay.
So he would examine you. But yeah, you'd probably need some imaging of your cervical spine.
Okay, so I wouldn't go and see you directly.
No, not for that. No,
okay. Now, for what would I go and see you directly? Why would I just waking up one day and going, I think I need to see a radiologist for this?
Well, so for an interventional neuroradiologist, the majority of my patients are actually urgent or emergent. But for elective patients that come into clinic, would be, say, someone has a brain aneurysm that was picked up that hasn't bled. It was incidentally discovered from, say, a headache workup, or this patient had trauma and they had to scan the brain to rule out some pathology from the trauma, and then they incidentally discover a brain aneurysm. So those are the patients that get referred to me. If someone has severe narrowing of an artery in the brain picked up incidentally, or in the neck artery supplying the brain, those folks get referred to me for evaluation, workup, and possible therapeutic intervention.
Are you seeing more migraines, more severe migraines?
So the migraineurs go to the colleague on my left.
Are you seeing a lot more migraines? I don't know why. I just seem to be hearing from more and more people that I can't come to work today. I've got a migraine, or I'm seeing a doctor for migraines, things like that. Is there an uptick that you're observing of presentation?
I know I sound like a broken record, but you got to go back to the sleep apnea. You have to make sure that's ruled out. A lot of my migraine patients have sleep apnea.
Huh.
But there could be other sleep problems as well if they're not getting enough sleep. In fact, good message for the adolescents and I've had kids coming in at 5 years old with headaches, and find out that they're going to bed at midnight, 1 o'clock, and they're up on the phones.
Yeah.
And
my 13-year-old daughter. Yes.
They're not sleeping, and I've cured a lot of pediatric adolescent migraines by just having them put the phone down and getting good sleep.
Excellent advice there. Excellent advice. 888-8255, Facebook Live, and questions and commentary about this excellent neuro team that we've got here. So let me go to Dr. Kwasi Nyame, the neurosurgeon. And as I said, maybe the most dapper guy that we've got in the studio this morning. You wear that to work all the time?
Yes, sir.
Does he
much.
win the Best Dressed Award over at GRMC? Nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. I kind of like that. I'm a Zara guy too. Digging the clothes that you're wearing. Just kind of maybe rocking a neurosurgeon motif, right? Because I think on all the television shows, the neurosurgeon is the rock star of the show. Is that necessarily the case with you?
In this case, I'm the more humble, guy in the background. These two really are the stars of the show. I kind of come in, later on, so I'm not the rock star of the show. I'm more like the guy in the background.
Somebody's got to be Top Gun, though. I mean, it's hard enough to become a doctor, and then to specialize as something as compact and I'd say difficult to get to as the brain, and maybe the least understood organ in our body, isn't it?
It is a complicated organ. It controls a lot, but I think it takes a cool-headed individual that has humility, and I think that's why I sort of, I'm in the background. I'm not in the forefront because you need to have a lot of self-restraint.
Right. No, so these guys will take in patients, and somebody will take a look at what's happening biologically, operationally with the brain, and then pass it along to you and say that here's the course of treatment we recommend. Or do you work together with them to
typically
determine
we work in conjunction. We're a collaborative team, and so Dr. Hale might see a patient that presents with neurological symptoms, for example, tingling in your fingertips,
yes,
or pain in your neck.
Yes.
He would then do the necessary workup with a CAT scan or an MRI of the cervical spine. He would see a problem there and then refer the patient to me for further management and treatment. He might also see a patient that has a stroke.
So I get this feeling while I'm talking to him, he's looking at me trying to decide where he's going to cut me. How do you reach into that? I'm sorry.
We like to do conservative management first before we even get to the surgery. I believe in less surgery, more benefit.
Yes.
But he might see a patient that has a stroke, which is lack of blood flow to the brain. And he may attempt an intervention. And if he's not able to do the intervention for some anatomical reason, he may consult me for my expertise in the surgical arts. And so typically I'm the end of the line as far as my expertise.
So I do, and again, my only understanding comes from watching television shows and movies, and usually we call in the neurosurgeon after some dramatic, spectacular accident involving a injury to the head, and you've got to go in there and slice things apart and save the day by releasing pressure or putting pressure on something, and so we get this idea that this is something that happens almost on an urgent basis. But what you're talking about are things that may take months to present and some time to diagnose and take some preliminary treatments on. So I mean, there's the right now path into neurosurgery, and then there's one that goes a little bit longer. Which ones do you see more of?
I see more of the chronic one where the patient has undergone treatment with pain medication, physical therapy, injections using radiology. So that's his specialty. He'll do injections. And if that fails, at that point, I'm consulted to offer a surgical treatment. And then there's the other avenue where it's something that is emergent. It needs to be done right away. And so my phone goes in the bedroom at all times because I need to be contacted. And so my phone is always on the highest volume.
Now, if something like that happens, I mean, do you automatically call these guys in? I mean, is that part of the process, or can you act absent, somebody that is a little bit more clinical and go in and figure out what's going on, just based on what you're seeing on the bed?
My training is 7 years long after medical school. And so I have both a clinical training and a surgical training background. And so I'm able to act independently because you need to make quick decisions on some of these emergent cases. And so if a patient is not doing very well, I will go in and basically act surgically to treat the problem. So a patient comes in with a bleed in the brain, I will go in, do surgery to remove the bleed so that they can have return of function.
When did you start doing medicine? You don't look old enough to have gone through a full-blown medical program and then 7 years into a specialty and then a couple of years now at GRMC. What did you do, Hauser or something?
I'm not Doogie Howser, but I am pretty old. I will say that.
All evidence to the contrary, I must say. It's at 9:32 in the morning. We'll call that iConnect time. Swing by iConnect. Very practical people, and they're the ones that have got great prices on your mobile and your internet and your push-to-talk plans. We like push-to-talk. It's kind of like a two-way radio where you can have gangs of people or you can reach just individuals. When you've got to communicate with somebody and you don't have time to wait for the 2 blue check marks, you want push-to-talk, and there's only one place to find it, and that's at iConnect.
I've worked with everyone running for governor. I know what they've done and what they haven't. There have been so many missed opportunities to prevent the crises facing Guam. I know Lou would never have allowed GMH to go without resources. She would have closed the revenue loopholes so that the $8.1 billion military buildup generated additional revenue for Guam. She'll make sure our government lives within its means. I'm Carlotta Leon Guerrero, a Republican, and I'm voting for Lou and Josh.
I'm Lou Leon Guerrero, and I approve this message.
Paid for by the committee to elect Leon Guerrero Tenorio. Tony Sanford, Treasurer.
Yeah, like Carlotta Leon Guerrero has to say, I'm Carlotta Leon Guerrero, a Republican. Everybody knows. Remember what I was telling you about convertible Republicans, right? And Auntie Lou is going to be over at Guam Regional Medical City along with Carl, and Frank is going to be there, and Ray is going to be there, and Dennis will be there to talk about medicine and health care and systems of care on Guam, and questions will be presented by members of the staff at Guam Regional Medical City. If you cannot be there, they will also be on Facebook Live, and if you cannot watch it on Facebook Live, then watch for the video on demand after it concludes about 5 o'clock this afternoon. Hey, what's the easiest way to get your dose of antioxidant-rich berries? Wendy's Berry Burst Chicken Salad. I had one of these the other day and loved it, because normally I'm a Caesar guy when I go to Wendy's, but these days this is good because it's got the strawberries and it's got blueberries, feta cheese, sea salted toasted almonds, and freshly grilled chicken. Now, I don't like grilled chicken. I like fried chicken, and they got a great spicy chicken sandwich that they do, and I tell them just take the spicy chicken off the sandwich and put it in a salad, and they'll do that for you. You don't have to be Ray Gibson. They'll do it for anybody. They just do it for me extra because I'm nice. Summer berries are in season at Wendy's. Now that's better.
Join Kathy and her team at Furniture Kathy Style for their grand opening this week. Their store is packed with fabulous furniture from brand names like Ashley, Klausner, Violino Leathers, and more, with prices that would blow your mind. Huge discounts throughout the store, such as their 4-piece bedroom set from Holland House, starting at $5.99. If you're looking for quality, style, and affordable furniture, come into Furniture Kathy Style in Hagåtña, open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Portions of the program brought to you by APL. That's short for American President Lines. They are shipping the future.
The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts of Guam Training, every morning on The Ray Gibson Show.
You've heard it. I've heard it. 2 people get into a disagreement, and one of them says, look here, facts are facts, and they're indisputable. I'm Jerry Roberts, and at 7:20 a.m. on The Ray Gibson Show, we'll discuss why even after getting down to facts, we can still be in trouble.
You can find daily transcripts of The Extra Point by Jerry Roberts at GuamTraining.com. Tune in every weekday morning at 7:20 for The Extra Point with Jerry Roberts on The Ray Gibson Show on 93.3 The Point.
Let's go. Let's play here. 9:35, and I like the opportunity when we got doctors in the studio. I like the opportunity to sound like I know what I'm talking about because I watch a lot of TV shows and movies with doctors and scrubs and all of that. Is there a favorite? I might have asked Dr. Shay this question the first time I interviewed you. Is there a favorite medical television show or movie that you can't get enough of? That you go, yeah, that's me. That's totally me.
I don't watch much TV, and so I have to decline that.
Same here. Don't watch much TV.
What is this? Come on, okay. Dr. Haley?
I'm sorry. I have no time. I have no time.
We work for a living. We got one. All right, so one of these days, right? We just get together and we'll binge season 1 of Scrubs. Can we do? These are you guys probably don't even know that's a comedy. Crazy. Anyway, 9:36 in the morning, Guam Regional Medical City, and the incredible neuro team that is with us now. And there's at least one candidate for senator who used the word holistic, and we've played that audio several times here this morning. And as I'm thinking about some of the things that we're talking about, sleep apnea and the not being able to sleep at night, all of those things. And some people say that that's one of those areas where you a neurosurgeon would go in and maybe tweak something in the brain as a result of that, but there are other holistic paths that you can go down to provide some kind of relief to that, and maybe a little bit more time on the treatment that you would have people pursue to attack some of these problems before I need to go under the knife.
Sure. I mean, I think as doctors, we're always trying to look at a holistic treatment. We don't, problems are usually not simple. Prevention is key. So I think healthy lifestyle will keep you away from people like the three of us.
And stay in well-lit places, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, daily exercise. I mean, 20 minutes a day of exercise has been shown to be preventive for stroke. You don't have to be running marathons. And eating your fruits and veggies, not too many carbs, staying away from the sweets, and plant-based diet, and then good sleep. I mean, that's
suddenly quite aware of my posture.
The sleep is 1/3 of your hours. So that's important.
So I knew there was going to be something in there about diet and exercise, and because it's me, what about alcohol? What are your suggestions about beers and wines and things like that?
Alcohol for at least for stroke, there may be some benefit to it. We think that moderate amounts of alcohol, I mean, like 1 drink per day for a woman, 2 for a man, probably have some protective properties for ischemic stroke, meaning the clogged pipes type of stroke. It may increase your risk of having hemorrhagic stroke, meaning the burst pipe type of stroke.
That's the one that'll take you out like that?
Well, either one can take you out. Both of them are, I would say, equally as serious. But the bleeding type strokes, it may increase the risk of that. Of course, high amounts of alcohol intake, binge drinking, alcoholism, those have just a lot of deleterious effects on your health. And, these people fall down, get head bleeds, and then they have to see Dr. Nyame to, put a hole in the skull. I'm simplifying your work, but, to drain the blood.
Yeah.
So yeah, alcohol is a double-edged sword.
I'm thinking about, and I don't know why I'm stuck on this, but I'm thinking about stress as well. I mean, there are
Sure.
Things that are going on mentally that could manifest physically.
Sure. Chronic stress is linked to metabolic syndrome, basically diabetes, high blood pressure, cholesterol, obesity. So if you're chronically stressed, chronically sleep deprived, you have chronic family issues, chronic financial issues. These are associated with chronic disease.
What about sport injuries? You see a lot of those?
Not a whole lot. Occasionally when people get honestly, a lot of concussions don't end up coming to see a neurologist. They just
deal with it.
They deal with it, yeah. But
is it possible that there is a concussion that somebody could have had years ago that might then bring on some problems? I'm trying to, I went skiing. I was up in Niseko, and I was on a snowboard, and apparently I'm no good at snowboard, and I hit the ground really hard, and it rang. I think the term is it rang my bell, and I always wondered whether that was, after a while it stopped hurting, obviously, but I was wondering if that particular injury might one of these days cause me some problems.
It's always hard to say whether some injury is, the cause of something. Sometimes I look at a lot of brain MRIs, and occasionally I'll see a little bit of bleeding there, and when the blood goes away, it leaves a little bit of a iron deposition, and so sometimes I'll see some iron showing up, and I'm like, hey, did you ever hit your head? Oh, yeah.
Car accident there, skiing in the second.
Right.
Hit the tree.
And sometimes those things could cause maybe a seizure years down the road. But
because I think about guys in the National Football League over the years, and they take the hit, but they still play and they still collect the $1 billion paychecks, and then at the end when it's retirement time, all of a sudden they start to have these neurological issues that we presume comes from years of getting your head knocked in and bashed in while you're playing football. all. And but then those are when the problems start. It's like as they're playing, it's not an issue, but once they retire and get away and get off the field, then they start to experience some of the problems.
Yeah, and so that's a little different than concussion. And I mean, if you get enough concussions, it might trigger this kind of neurodegenerative disorder, very similar to Alzheimer's. That's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So.
The back is a complex thing. And sometimes, we're talking about the neurosurgery, neurology, and the whole study of that area. When I first started getting the tingling in my fingers, my first thought wasn't go see a neurologist. My first thought was go see a chiropractor. And so, can you tell me, gentlemen, about your thoughts about dealing with chiropractors or maybe homeopathic medicines or treatment styles? What do you guys think of that?
I didn't train to learn about what is done by chiropractors. And so I don't know exactly what it is they do, but I have patients who tell me that they had neck and back pain and we see chiropractor, and after some manipulations, the neck and back pain was much better. And so I know that there's a role for them to take into treatment of back and neck pain. And that's more the conservative management, which includes physical therapy, which includes rest, which includes pain medication. But sometimes the neck pain and back pain may become a serious issue where instead of having just pain, you have weakness and you have loss of sensation. And in that respect, chiropractic manipulations and even physical therapy, I would not recommend, because now there's a loss of function. And we need to do the necessary imaging to figure out why there's loss of function, which may require surgical intervention. And so as a board-certified neurosurgeon, what I do is I take care of hand symptoms. So I can do carpal tunnel surgery, I do neck, I also do back, and then I do the brain. And so I'll get the necessary imaging to figure out exactly what is going on. And so if you have a disc herniation, which is causing a pinching of the nerves, I'll see how severe it is. And if you have weakness of the hand, it may require that we need to consider doing surgery. And so that's kind of where I fall into place.
So tell me a little bit about some of the surgical intervention that you can do in the back area. I mean, are there parts of my backbone that you can pull out of course and replace like a Lego part?
So it depends on the problem you're having. Most of the problem is stenosis or closing off of the nerve canals. So the nerves.
I have a friend whose ears just perked up because she's got stenosis. So let's spend some time on that.
Sure. So stenosis comes into two flavors. The first flavor is there's central canal stenosis. Think of the spinal cord as going through a ring of bone. And so if that ring gets closed off by either a disc herniation or bony overgrowth, it pinches that big spinal cord in the middle. What I can do as a neurosurgeon is I can go in and remove that bone that's overgrown or that disc that's herniated or pushing towards the spinal cord. And I can do that from the front by going through the neck very safely, or from the back by going through the back of the neck very safely. If I take off bone to the point where I have to remove stability, meaning that I have to take enough bone that the neck is not stable, I'll put in screws and rods in order to stabilize the spine so that you can go on to move your neck and function normally. Sometimes I can take just enough bone that there is still stability, which means that the bone is still able to hold the structure without me having to put in different instruments.
Well, is it a painful procedure?
Because of the cut that I make, patients will have pain for about 1 or 2 days. But with pain medication, we can control that incisional pain. But once the wound heals, the pain that the patient's had before the surgery is completely gone
Yeah.
or reduced to the point where they can function normally.
Yeah, I've heard about things like this, and I said I know a couple of people that have had stenosis, and now I think I understand a little bit more of the process. Dr. Shay, how would you find out about that? How would tell me about how you'd use your radiological tools to be able to determine where there might be that compression or the herniation?
Cross-sectional imaging, special CAT scans, and or MRIs will show the anatomy exquisitely well, so you can see the spinal cord, you can see the spinal canal, and you can see if there's compromise of the spinal canal or pinching of the spinal cord because of soft tissues like discs or hard tissues like bone.
Interesting.
So it's a non-invasive exam where you're laying on a table and you're scanned.
And so, obviously, you know what you're looking for, but for me, I just say it feels like my back is crooked, and I know somebody that's got something like that as well, where she cannot technically stand up straight because her spine seems to have taken a curve someplace. And tell me about that.
That's a condition.
Do you treat it, or
I do treat it. It's a condition called scoliosis. Typically, it happens in adolescence, but however, it can continue into adulthood. And so just like you said, the spine will be curved and they'll have difficulty straightening their back. Now, sometimes if you have a strain of the muscles from moving heavy boxes, one part of the musculature in the back can contract. And so you'll have a hard time straightening your back. And so you have to be careful to rule out a problem with
sorry, as I said, I've got to adjust myself because I realized that I'm slouching in the chair.
Bad posture can also have difficulty with straightening of the back. And so you have to be careful to evaluate with x-rays and CT scans to make sure that the problem is not because of bad posture or a strain on one side of the muscle versus a curvature of the actual spine. And then if there's a curvature of the spine, if it's severe, we can go in, remove certain parts of the spine, put screws and rods up and down the spine, and then curve the rod in such a way that it straightens the spine. Now, that's a very long and very complicated surgery, but it is something that can be done.
Sounds like molding a tree to grow in a certain fashion.
That's what you're doing. You're typically breaking the spine and then reforming it into a more straighter curvature as opposed to the bent curvature there is. And so patients that have a lot of back pain, they can either have back pain from bad curvature or from a disc herniation or that stenosis we're talking about, or it can be from simply bad posture and muscular pain.
Are there times where there are issues with the backbone, and along that neurological chain here, where we have effects not just on things like your posture or being able to use your hands or standing up straight or carrying things, but are there other issues that will affect, say, the internal organs, the hearts, lungs, livers, etc.?
Well, imagine that the curvature goes higher up into what we call a thoracic spine, which is in the chest area. Because you're curved in a sort of malformed way, your lungs will not be able to expand normally because of the curvature. And so if the curvature is so exaggerated, it can prevent breathing problems. And so by fixing the curvature, it can get the lungs to work much better. And then you can have also pain that starts in the back and moves down the leg. We call that radicular pain. And that's because of closing off of the nerve that goes into the leg as opposed to the center nerve. And so you can have pain going down the arm or down the leg because of the nerve that comes off the big nerve and then goes into the arms and legs.
And we'd fix that surgically.
Well, first we would do conservative management.
Because I was going to ask the other doctor, is there a way that doesn't require surgery that you might be able to treat that?
I'm a big fan of physical therapy. I think physical therapy, you're changing the muscles, the bone and the tendons and the cartilage, and you're changing the structure of the body with those sort of focused exercises. And so we almost always would want to see somebody doing physical therapy before we ever send them to a neurosurgeon.
Okay, so the next time I'm running a marathon, I'm going to come and see you and have you put the K-tape on me.
You know,
Are you into that?
I actually don't. I would probably send you to our physical therapist.
Yeah.
They're down the hall from us, third floor of the GRMC. I think we have really great therapists. And so I send people all the time down the hall to.
No, this is for before the race, not after. Because there's different things that you want to do with your muscles in a marathon, and different ways that you kind of want to be able to protect them from oversaturation of the acids, and this, just the repetitive use of you get these marathons where you're running 6 miles and it's all flat, and you get this repetitive motion, and pretty soon your feet get tired and your ankles get tired, and that's what I would hope to avoid with a visit to a physical therapist before the race. After the race, I got codeine and other pills that I can take. 9:52, and fascinating conversation. Your healthcare partner is Guam Regional Medical City, and that's why I just love it when they come in here to have conversations like this. We'll wrap it up probably on the other side of these messages.
Apply today for First Hawaiian Bank's United Mileage Plus credit card, and upon approval, you will be entered to win 2 round-trip business class tickets on United. You'll also earn up to 30,000 bonus miles, 5,000 upon opening your new account, and $25,000 after spending $1,500 within 3 months. And you'll get 2 times the mileage on United ticket purchases. Apply by August 31, 2018. Stop by any branch or visit us online at FHB.com. Terms and conditions apply. Sweepstakes starts on July 1, 2018 and ends on August 31, 2018. Open to legal residents of Guam and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands aged 18 years or older. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Visit www.fhb.com/United Sweepstakes for official rules and complete details. Member FDIC.
As a mayor, I see the first-hand struggles our people face. I see the real effects of tax increases and what happens when our government cannot deliver the services timely. I've heard the promises made year after year. I know what it really means when these promises go unfulfilled. Who do you trust to finally get things done right? I'm in with Lou and Josh because they have the experience to lead us and deliver what they promise.
I'm Lou Leon Guerrero, and I approve this message.
Paid for by the committee to elect Leon Guerrero Tenorio. Tony Sanford, Treasurer.
Are you paying too much for power? Do you want to reduce your energy costs and save some money? Then call Micronesia Renewable Energy and get a solar energy system installed on your roof. Whether it's ownership or a zero money down program, there's never been a better time to go solar. Sign up in August and MRE will pay 1 month of your power bill so you can save even more money. Not a homeowner? No problem. Refer homeowners to MRE and get paid $400 cash. It pays to be an MRE customer. Conditions apply. Call 632-2613 for details. MRE, the smarter choice.
Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959, and they'll continue to be there for you in the years to come. Whether you're looking to get a personal loan for that summer vacation or paying off those long overdue bills, Family Finance has got you covered. Apply for a personal loan from $1,000 up to $3,500 by calling Family Finance in Hagåtña at 475-4545, Upper Tuon 647-5626, or in Dedito 633-4473. Family Finance has been serving the people of Guam since 1959.
9:55, 888-8255, Facebook Live. A quick question on genetics and the roles that genetics can play in some of that narrowing of the backbones. What do you think, Doc?
Yes, genetics definitely has a role to play, especially in patients that have what we call Down syndrome. They have a certain genetic defect that makes the ligaments, which are the cables that holds the bones together, very loose and lax, and so those patients are high risk for having stenosis. But for the most part, some patients that have stenosis are what we call developmental. I mean, in that case, they develop it over the years as we use our bodies. Right. Think about it. Human beings have been walking on 4 legs for a long time. Only recently have we just started walking on 2 legs. And so we're just starting to learn how to do that without having difficulty. And so a lot of these back pains and these neck pains are, growing pains of, evolving.
Just that change in the evolution.
I think so.
That's fascinating stuff here. The whole conversation has been fascinating, and I have unfortunately, like many people, have lost members of the family to stroke, and so there's conversations about how to deal with stroke, how to deal with something after it's happened. And I'm told, Dr. Shay, that you have a unique skill, unique in that there is nobody else here on Guam. In fact, we're talking about a bunch of unique. Dr. Nyame is the only board-certified neurosurgeon on Guam, according to my paperwork. And you've got the skill and ability, Dr. Shay, to be able to, with wires, go inside the brain and get the strokey parts out.
Yes, so there's two types of strokes, but the strokes that we're talking about, you're bringing up, is the ischemic stroke, where you have a blockage of the blood vessels, the arteries going to the brain. And we're able to emergently, because time is brain, access usually the artery in the top of the leg, sometimes from the arm artery, and from that access site, crawl up through the arteries that are all interconnected, get into the neck artery, and then actually crawl up into the brain artery that's blocked, usually with blood clot.
This is
sometimes
science fiction. How do you do that?
Well, we use X-ray vision to kind of guide our guide wire, our little wire, and then over the wire we kind of shimmy a hollow tube called a catheter.
Right, right.
And then we can get the catheter right where the clot is, and with some devices we can actually remove the clot, restore flow in the blood vessel, reperfuse the brain that's been denied blood, which supplies the oxygen and the glucose to keep the cells alive.
How do you steer it? I mean, at some point, you come in through the femoral artery down here, right? And it's a long way up to the brain, isn't it? And I'm sure there's some places where it might take a wire.
Correct. I mean, there are branch points. You have to know your anatomy, but you can actually crawl from the top of the leg artery into the brain artery in a matter of several minutes. It's quick.
Yeah, and then so once you're inside, describe that procedure again. You said it, and but I'm still fascinated with the idea of a wire.
So if we can get the wire, then we can get a catheter, a hollow tube to the blocked vessel, and then through the hollow tube we can deliver a device that will allow us to remove the clot and restore flow. My last stroke was a couple nights ago, and it was in a 48-year-old gentleman. So as Dr. Hale mentioned earlier, due to the unique prevalence of certain diseases here that are untreated or not recognized, poorly treated, we see certain types of the disease processes manifesting at a younger age.
We were talking about that as well, and it's.
In fact, I had a patient a year ago.
Diet and exercise, guys.
Right. I had a patient probably 10 months ago who was 35 weeks pregnant. And I think she was 28 or 30 years old and had a stroke. So strokes can occur at any age. They typically thought they're older folks, but they can occur much younger.
And one of these days we'll get into the conversation about certain things that happen to older folks, Alzheimer's and things like that might be associated, and what we're learning about that today. We're unfortunately out of time. Your healthcare partners, GRMC and The Point Radio 93.3. It's just been a pleasure talking with these guys, as it always is, and hope you had a good time listening to it as well. If you're interested and want to make appointments to see Dr. Hale, Dr. Shay, or Dr. Nyame at the Neuro and Neuroscience Department, contact GRMC. 645-5500. Friend them, like them on Facebook. You'll get a note later on that says that the gubernatorial forum is on about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and hear what the doctors are going to be asking the gubernatorial candidates about their ideas about health care and systems of care on Guam. Maybe that'll help prevent a stroke in your family. The radio station is KUSG Agania. It's time for Fox News Live.
The defense rests. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The final phase of the corruption trial against President Trump's former campaign manager gets underway tomorrow after his defense called no witnesses.
Paul Manafort chose not to testify. His lead attorney, Kevin Downing, made a brief statement to reporters.
We live in the United States of America, and you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. We believe the government cannot meet that burden. We are very confident.
In the ninth floor courtroom, Judge T.S. Ellis reminded the jury that Manafort, who faces bank and tax fraud charges with a maximum sentence of 305 years, is under no obligation to mount a defense. Closing arguments will begin Wednesday morning, with the judge directing the prosecution and defense to take no more than 2 hours each. The judge has allotted 90 minutes for his separate jury instructions.
Fox's Catherine Herridge outside the courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia. The White House on the defensive after former aide Omarosa Manigault Newman accused President Trump of making racist comments.
I think the greatest concern we have is the lack of integrity that this individual has shown.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, who says President Trump's tweets calling Omarosa a dog and a lowlife are not racist. The Trump's campaign has filed an arbitration claim against her, arguing that Omarosa violated a non-disclosure agreement she signed when she joined the campaign. Bishop David Zubik with the Diocese of Pittsburgh denying a scathing report by a Pennsylvania grand jury that claims hundreds of priests sexually abused at least 1,000 children over a period of several decades. And he says there was no cover-up.
We have, over the course of the last 30 years for sure, been transparent about everything that has in fact been transpiring. So I think that point needs to be made.
Grand jury faults Cardinal Donald Wuerl, the former Archbishop of Pittsburgh, for his handling of abusive priests. Fox News, fair and balanced.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was